Yeah.
Chairman, Sarah Goodall, Democratic Services. I can confirm the live stream is live and you may start the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for that. Good morning, everybody, on Thursday, the 1st of April, 2021. Welcome to this virtual meeting of the Strategic Planning Committee. Before consideration of today's business, I will outline the protocols for the meeting. Today's meeting is being live streamed to the public via Microsoft Teams and is also being recorded. When members are speaking, they may choose to use their video. If the council's live stream fails during the meeting and we cannot share the proceedings, I will adjourn the meeting so that access can be restored. If the issue cannot be resolved, I will halt the meeting and remaining business will be concluded at a future date. If a member experiences a technical issue, I will adjourn for a short period to try to establish their reconnection. As I call members to speak, I'll remind you to switch off your microphone. If for some reason you cannot be heard, the Democratic Service Officer will advise you. The vote will be taken by roll call of committee members by the Democratic Services Officer. Members must be present for the duration to discussion on each plan application in order to be able to vote. We have public speakers at the meeting today and they will be joining the meeting by telephone. Where a member has declared a non-registrable interest, a disclosable pecuniary interest, or an interest by virtue of any trade union membership in a matter, they must leave the virtual meeting. Their departure will be confirmed and they will be invited to rejoin the meeting at the appropriate time. To confirm the procedure for today's meeting is that members who wish to speak on the item should indicate by using the raise your hand function. Must also remind members to make sure your phones are turned off and make sure when you aren't taking part in the discussion that your microphones and your cameras are turned off as well. Thank you. I will now ask Sarah, our Democratic Services Officer, to ask the committee members to confirm that they are present and state their electoral division. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, when I call your name, if you could reconfirm your name and state your electoral division, please. Councillor Batters.
Good morning, Chris Batters, Lindovit, Blisland Division.
Thank you, Councillor Bull.
Good morning, Jackie Bull, St Austell Poltaire Division.
Thank you, Councillor Code.
Good morning, Graham Code, Hale South.
Thank you, Councillor Dyer. Councillor Dyer, you're on mute, Councillor Dyer.
Is that better?
That's much better, thank you, Councillor Dyer.
I said, I'm John Dyer and I'm Chasewater, Kenwyn and the great metropolis, and I shan't be able to do this a lot longer because I shall lose the Baldy ward of Key Parish as a result of the Boundary Commission.
Thank you, Councillor Dyer. Councillor Evans.
Geoffrey Evans, Falmouth Arwenick.
Thank you. Councillor Eddy.
Good morning, Sarah. Martin Eddy here from the St Clair Division, substituting for Councillor Foote today.
Thank you. Councillor Greenslade.
Good morning all. Fred Greenslade, St Denis and Nanpan Division.
Thank you. Councillor Hurd.
Good morning. John Hurd, Councillor for Camborne Pendorvis Division.
Thank you. Councillor Jewell.
Good morning, Councillor Alan Jewell, Falmouth Boslowick, substituting for Councillor Bastian.
Thank you. Councillor Kaczmarek.
Councillor Mark Kaczmarek, Cornwall Councillor for Caharrock, Gwenup and St Day Electoral Division.
Thank you. Councillor Long.
And good morning, Councillor Andrew Long, Callington Division.
Councillor Olivier.
Cornelius Olivier, Penzance Central Division.
Thank you. Councillor Parsons.
Good morning, Adrian Parsons representing the Alton Division.
Thank you. Councillor Rand.
Julian Rand, representing St Kevin and Meneath Division.
Thank you. And Councillor Robinson.
Richard Robinson, St Ives East.
Thank you very much. And Chairman, we have a number of officers present at the meeting today. We have Mark Broomhead, who is the Planning Group Leader, Peter Bainbridge, the Principal Development Officer, Hugh Gibbon, Principal Development Officer for Highways, Nick Marsden, Affordable Housing Development Officer, Jane Asprey from Legal, who's Team Manager Regulatory and Planning, and myself, Sarah Goodall, who's a Democratic Team Leader. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Can I ask John Dyer to stop sharing his screen? All we can see is John on there at the moment.
You should be so lucky.
If you're not taking part in any discussion, please turn the cameras off, please. Okay. Item 1 on it is apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies for absence, Sarah?
Yes, Chairman, we do. We have apologies from Councillor Foote and Councillor Bastin.
Thank you. No apologies. Item 2 on the agenda, declarations. Do you have a declaration of interest by anyone? Can't see any hands up, so that's a no. Item 3 on the agenda, minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of February 2021, pages 1 to 6. I'll go through them page by page, and if there is any matters arising, can you flag them up as we go through, please? Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and page 6. No matters arising. Can I have a vote for a true and accurate record, please?
Chairman, can we ask for a proposer first, please, and a seconder?
Yeah. Proposer, please. Proposed by Fred.
Happy to second, then Julian Rand.
Julian Rand second. Okay, thank you. So we have a proposer and seconder. All those in favour. We've got a show by hand or roll call,
fine,
Sarah?
Chairman, you can do a show of hands. If all those members in favour of the minutes could raise their hand, please. Yes, Chairman, that has been passed. The minutes have been agreed. If you could lower your hands, please.
Lower your hands. Thank you for that. Item 4 on the agenda today, applications for consideration. 4.1 is PA 20/05161. North Quay Road, Hale Harbour, Hale, pages 7 to 8. Reserved matters application for the construction of 375 residential units, 598 square metres of retail class A1 and A5, and sui generis floor space, 2,407 square metres of business class B1 and industrial fish storage, class B2 and B8 floor space, 4,409 square metres hotel, class 1, 2,275 square metres of community and cultural class D1 floor space and sports and leisure, class D2. Floor space associated access, parking and public open space, the original online consent, W1/080613, was an environmental impact assessment application, and the environmental statement was submitted to Cornwall Council at that time. Details following the application number pursuant to the outline permission PA 13/10370. And the case officer on this is Peter Bainbridge. So we are fully aware of how long this application has been before Strategic Planning Committee. So over to you, Peter. You're well versed on this one.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everybody. I'll just share my presentation with you. The presentation will hopefully not go on too long, As I say, we have been through it several times before. We've had various applications in and around Hale Harbour. So essentially, this is a reserve mass application for the majority of the remaining undeveloped areas on North Quay. This was previously considered by the committee back in February, where it was deferred for comments from ICOMOS to be looked at and considered further. There was a further meeting, or there was a meeting with ICOMOS back in February. As a result of that, further changes were submitted, and again, these have been out for consultation with the heritage bodies. The comments from Historic England and the World Heritage Site Office are in the main report. Comments from ICOMOS are in the addendum. As you'll see from that, ICOMOS still have concerns about it and are seeking their further changes to the application. Given the relatively late submission of these comments, and that there are issues with some of the comments, we don't wholly agree with all of them perhaps, it's been decided by the applicant in conjunction with officers that the application should be amended to take out those elements of the scheme which are a concern for ICOMOS, and they would be subject to a further application. So the elements, which I'll show you in detail later, in zones 4, 7 and 9 have been removed from the current application. Those areas are the East Quay, the Eastern Gateway where the dry berth area was, and the Hilltop area where a number of 31 units were proposed below the cricket club. This is all set out in the addendum, which also covers issues regarding flood risk and coastal erosion. However, those issues, it's been agreed, can all be covered by conditions which are set out in the recommendation. You'll note from the addendum as well the recommendation has been amended slightly because there's various plans which will need amending to make sure that none of the withdrawn aspects are covered in the approved plans. So it's delegated authority to officers to approve the application once all the plans have been sorted out and amended. Moving on, the key issues. As I say, outline permission has been granted, so it's only the reserve matters and those detailed aspects to be considered. As I've set out, the application has been amended. Given the amendments, the heritage concerns, I think, have been addressed. So the concerns by the heritage bodies, whilst the Historic England and the World Heritage Site Office didn't object to the application, they had some minor concerns, and obviously the issues of ICOMOS, those are related to the aspect of the area which have been withdrawn. And the design issues, I think, is probably the key remaining issues. I think overall the design is of very high quality. This red line shows the whole area of the reserve matters application. Some other areas are now being withdrawn, but essentially to provide a context for the application, you can see the World Heritage Site and also the adjacent Site of Scientific Interest and the County Wildlife Sites. This site shows slightly more detail, and the key points I'd like to draw to you here: the listed buildings in purple running along the quayside, that's stable block area here. Also you've got various footpaths and bridleways running up into the dunes, into the chalets and to the beach. It shows an overhead shot. Things have moved on slightly since this shot in that work has commenced on site on the North Quay following the previous grant of reserve matters consent. Also preparatory works in terms of ecological mitigation have commenced in the Hilltop and the Riviera Field area here. This shows the character zones, which I thought would be useful just to bring to your attention. The North Quay Wharfside area, where development is well underway, is here. The other key areas, Riviera Fields is here, the main residential area. The Hilltop area, which has been withdrawn. Hilltop car park's been approved. Western Gateways, where the hotel and community buildings are going to go. Yard areas include primarily residential with some commercial units. Chieftain Yard apartment buildings, and down the bottom we've got East Quay and Eastern Gateway. This was the revised master plan which was submitted following the comments from ICOMOS. As I say, it has been withdrawn now, but there were some further changes made to that from the scheme considered in February. And this clearly shows those areas to be withdrawn from the current application, which is the Hilltop area with the residential units, Eastern Gateway where the dry berth area was, and East Quay where the mix of commercial and public workspaces, the art gallery and cinema. So just to conclude and wrap everything up, the outline plan permission has been granted, so we just look at purely at details. The application has been amended to withdraw those contentious elements which had issues in terms of heritage. The scheme, I think, presents significant public benefits, which is set out in some detail in the reports, and it's a high quality design. So the recommendation is now for delegated authority to officers to approve once the updated plans have been received. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Peter. This goes on to our list of speakers now. First speakers we have on here are Peter Cannon or Channon.
Sarah Goodall, Democratic Services. Mr. Channon, if you're on the line, could you please press *6 on your telephone keypad and that will unmute you. Thank you. Mr. Channon, if you're having trouble unmuting your phone, if you could hang up and then redial into the meeting. But pressing *6 on your handset or your keypad, your telephone keypad, should unmute you. Chairman, did you want to move on to Mr. Gordon, who is the next public speaker?
Okay, I'll go on to the next one, and if you can try to get Mr. Channon back on in a minute.
I'll try and phone him.
I'll bring in the next speaker then, Mr. David Gordon. Do we have Mr. Gordon?
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. You are currently muted. If you could press.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, well, yes, I can. Thank you. Who's speaking?
Yeah, it's Mr. David Gordon.
Mr. David Gordon, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the Strategic Planning Committee, Mr. Gordon. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and you'll be reminded when there's 30 seconds remaining, okay?
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank
okay,
you.
Here we go. The Hale Harbour development is a social, economic and an environmental travesty. This will further divide the linear townships of Hale and Copperhouse. It is disgraceful that the applicant has at the last minute withdrawn zones 4, 7 and 9 for future considerations due to the concerns by ICMOS. This whole process has been frustrating for the layperson to follow, and in particular with these last-minute amendments and conditions. The committee must defer the whole project to be brought into one appeal, not piecemeal the day before the hearing. The implications are really important for the future of Hale Copperhouse, and as such, further public participation must be considered. Also, can I remind members of the comments made by the police? Riviera Fields is compounded by repetitive claustrophobic block design which will dominate the skyline and surrounding landscape. The reserve matters for Hale Harbour shows all the affordable housing to be clustered at the rear of the site. This is the worst type of ghettoisation. Provision of affordable homes is inadequate at 17%. The scheme is not ambitious enough in terms of renewable energy provision. All houses should be built to passive house standards, and the scheme should adopt advancing green technology as it comes on stream to future-proof the homes for the inevitability of climate change and to give the residents quality housing. To build resilient communities, the provision of good, usable community green space with close proximity to homes is crucial. Ideally, the scheme should include personal large garden space. The beaches, dunes and the trees behind Clifton Terrace are not suitable for unsupervised play areas for children and also would place an unreasonable burden on the surrounding fragile ecosystem. The green area of Hilltop has already been destroyed by the removal of 70 years of valuable scrub growth, which was such an important wildlife habitat for invertebrates, mammals, reptiles and birds. The claim of a 44% biodiversity net gain by the agents for the developers appears to be incredulous. The dredging of the estuary and the removal of sand to create an artificial dune system in order to establish a marina of some kind is likely to alter the tidal movements and upset the ecology of the estuary. We do need more reassurances and future modelling. Unstable and fragile geology, the Porth Towing Formation below Clifton Terrace and Riviera Fields, have raised numerous questions, including will soil nailing be a suitable answer? Will there be a need to reprofile the embankment, and who will have overall role of monitoring and have the maintenance responsibility?
30 seconds remaining.
Yeah, much more detailed costing and modelling needs to be undertaken to alleviate these concerns about flash floodings. So I think it's time for Cornwall Council to take back control and relook and revisit the more controversial aspects of this development, and in particular honouring of the 106 agreements to the benefit of the local community. Okay, thank you.
For that. Thank you for that, Mr. Gordon. Do we have any questions of the speaker? from any members? Can't see any hands go up. Thank you for that. Do we have Mr. Peter Channon now available to speak?
Hello.
Hello, is that Peter?
Yes, this is Peter Channon.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome to the Strategic Planning Committee. And you'll have 3 minutes to speak, and we'll remind you when there's 30 seconds remaining.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, folks, and thank you for the opportunity to speak about the dreadful situation that is befalling the Hale North Quay World Heritage location, which just happens to be the largest single World Heritage site in Cornwall. The application before you is substantial, but the developer now wishes to extract certain elements of his choice to suit his circumstances. This has been done at very short notice, which does not allow any working days to assess the situation and also obtain important relevant information. The lack of notice for a portion assessment is not satisfactory and only confirms the lack of respect and attention this World Heritage location is getting. If the developer wishes to withdraw items, then it should be the complete application, which can then be properly attended to with associate public comments at a later suitable date. There is no haste to rush this through. The development is in a stalled condition with contractor departure and the resultant state of the site more akin to Beirut after a severe bombing and hardly the picture of a World Heritage status. Cornwall worked hard for this global status, and we should be considered, are we really serious about its future, or in reality, are we just throwing it away piece by piece? The planning department are treating Hale with as much disdain as the developer, and it does them no credit to be seen as not protecting the local community and Cornwall at large from the considerable uncertainty and harm the development is causing. The application should be considered as originally promoted and either rejected as is or deferred for more consultation and a proper site visit to assess the actual on-ground situation, that is the present fate of the Hale World Heritage location. Basically, Cornwall has to decide, are we serious about World Heritage status or not? In the case of Hale, it is obviously we are not. And I really think this is a situation that needs a proper further debate, a proper site visit, and to look at the situation on the ground there so members understand what I actually are voting for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Channon. Do we have any questions of the speaker from any members? Got one, Councillor Alan. Joe, you want to ask a question?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Channon. In your address, you commented on it's more looking like Beirut. Is the site still in operation, or is it being mothballed, or the contractors pulled out? What is the state of the site as it is at the moment, please?
Well, it'd be unfair for me to make comments, but I can tell you the situation as seen by the locals and myself is basically contractors have pulled off site for the main site, the main groundworks part. The part of the site as you enter on the left is nearly completed. That's where the black roof building is. But the main site, alongside the quays further along, the contractors appear to have pulled out, and there is no work in progress on there or appears on the rest of the site.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions to the speaker? No?
Can't see any other hands raised, Chairman.
No, thank you for that. Next speakers we have are Simon Wright. Do we have Simon Wright here?
Hello.
Hello, is that Mr. Wright?
Good morning.
Hello, is that Mr. Wright speaking?
It is speaking.
Right, okay. Welcome to the Strategic Planning Committee. You'll have 3 minutes to speak and remind them when there's 30 seconds remaining.
Thank you very much.
Can you speak up a little bit? Your mic's a bit quiet.
As members of the committee will appreciate, the proposals for Hale Harbour have been subject to lengthy discussion and refinement over many years. The award-winning scheme that is currently under construction on site has come about because of a thoughtful design process that is sensitive towards the World Heritage status of the harbour, as well as the aspirations of the local community, the neighbourhood plan, and critically the drive towards zero carbon development. We are immensely proud of what is being and will be achieved. The application before you represents the next step in the regeneration of Hale, including the delivery of the affordable housing component of the scheme. We have removed all parts of the scheme that ICOMOS cannot today support, and I have already instructed our team to address the comments raised by ICOMOS to enable a separate reserved matters application for those three parts of the scheme to be submitted to the Council by the end of April. Your approval of this application today will allow us to instruct our architect to start work on the detailed working drawings that will see the water sports hub and hotel come online in the early phases of construction. I'm sure the committee is equally frustrated that engagement and comments from ICOMOS on the proposal were requested when the application was submitted in June 2020, and initial comments were only received in February this year. But we can only work together to try to please all parties around the world. As the ward members and case officer will confirm, we have gone to great efforts to engage with the heritage stakeholders, including Historic England and the World Heritage Site Office, as well as ICOMOS, in refining all of our proposal over several years. There have been numerous amendments which we have willingly made and will carry on with the same attitude. It is a sign of the success of that constructive dialogue that the heritage stakeholders and indeed your officers have concluded that any residual concerns at the end of this process are minor. Your officers' report confirms this. ICOMOS has indeed raised no significant issues. The comments of last Thursday echo those of Historic England and the World Heritage Site Office, whose remaining concerns are minor. We have 338 inquiries for commercial space and have had to interview applicants for the space in phase 1. We have also completed 17 wharf houses. It is clear that there is a healthy interest in the scheme, no doubt enhanced by the World Heritage setting. We will continue to bringing forward a scheme that is fitting for the location, which delivers important benefits for the local community. We have held off on part of the building on site to avert what could have been a major COVID problem, and all works will be starting back on all areas at the end of April and early May, now that things have levelled out with the pandemic. I thank the committee.
Thank you for that. Any questions to the speaker? Can't see any hands up. We've gone to the next speaker now, Mr. Matt Williams.
Hello.
Hello, we got Mr. Williams there?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, welcome.
Okay. You'll have 3 minutes. Welcome to the committee, Mr. Williams. You'll have 3 minutes to speak and reminder when there's 30 seconds remaining.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning. We have been working on the regeneration of Hale Harbour for many years, developing a design that respects its heritage whilst creating a positive future for the town. The site presents a complex set of parameters: heritage, community, sustainability, and viability, all of which have to be carefully balanced. In discussion with heritage stakeholders, Hale Town Council and the community, we have made huge progress with this long-awaited regeneration project. Throughout the process, we have been respectful of the views of others. This constructive dialogue will continue as future phases come forward. The scheme proposed a significantly less development than was granted outline permission, and we are pleased that ICOMOS have raised only minor concerns following their review. Like you, we are very proud of Cornwall's heritage. We have developed a proposal that is respectful of the heritage, but also works towards a sustainable future for the harbour. The design has been recognised by Historic England and others as a high-quality response to a complex site. Aside from the heritage, we also have a responsibility, as does everyone on this committee, to recognise the future, notably the importance of addressing climate change issues. As a design team, we are industry leaders in low carbon and sustainable design. It underpins everything we do. This project has an exemplar sustainability agenda driving towards the zero carbon target set by Cornwall Council. The project will redevelop this brownfield site, introducing tree planting throughout with green landscape spaces, both public and private, enhancing and preserving biodiversity. Rainwater harvesting, renewable energy and electric vehicle charging points are provided within the proposal. We have also ensured that local businesses, community groups and clubs are accommodated. An example of this are the new facilities proposed for the Gig Club, the Canoe Club and the provision of a new community hall. The harbour is the primary heritage asset and we are respectful of this. Your officers' reports reflect this. We do, however, recognise that ICOMOS have taken a different view to that of the consultants, the Town Council and the local and national heritage bodies. ICOMOS do seek further adjustments and clarifications. Please be assured that we are working towards a resolution of these minor concerns with ICOMOS to ensure that the harbour and the community of Hale get the improved harbour facilities and workspaces for local businesses that are promised. We once again thank Hale Town Council, the World Heritage Site team, Historic England and Cornwall Council for the high level of engagement that has driven such a rigorous design process. We'd welcome your support to ensure this long-awaited regeneration project continues to be realised. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any questions of Mr. Williams? From any committee members? I see none. Okay, I'll now open up for our divisional members now. We have Councillor Greenslade and not Greenslade, sorry, John Pollard.
Always very privileged to be compared with Fred. Thank you, Chairman. I see you've disappeared as I start speaking. Hope that's not a vote of confidence.
Sorry, my computer was dying. I had to turn the electric on.
Just let me say that I support the recommendations and welcome the fact that the developer has decided to withdraw the contentious elements at this point to enable the other areas on North Quay and of course the housing estate he's going to build on the top of Rear Fields to continue. I think it's a shame that the public comments contain so much really misunderstanding of the situation in that way. I am concerned though that there still appears to be quite a gulf between the proposals and ICOMOS. And I urge both parties to come to a quick and positive conclusion of those elements. We showed on South Quay that it is possible to satisfy ICOMOS and have a viable scheme, and I hope and very much hope that the same will attain here. The areas in question that have now been withdrawn are important for the viability of the scheme and for the future sustainability of the harbour. So they do need to be resolved to ICOMOS's satisfaction. On a personal note, if you allow me, Mark, I am disappointed that at the end of my period as a Cornwall councillor, we've still not yet reached a conclusion on these elements of the regeneration of Hale. We've made enormous progress, but I still live in hope that these will be concluded to the satisfaction of all parties before the end of June, and I urge them please to come together and reach a positive conclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, John. And we do hope that it does all come to fruition. Next electoral division member or joining member is Councillor Graham Code.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here I am. I completely agree with what John Pollard has just said. Stealing my thunder again, as often the case. But I fully support this. Hale Town Council has supported this general proposal for Hale Harbour right from the very start. Hale Town Council is the body which represents the people of Hale. I listened with some dismay to the objectors speaking and winced at their lack of understanding of what has happened and the involvement of the community with the proposals. I, John and others, members of Hale Town Council, have sat in various meetings and workshops for years and years as this scheme has become developed, along with the heritage people. We've spoken to representatives of ICOMOS. We've had them in Hale and walked around the harbour with them. It's really been a joint effort between the heritage people, the developer, and the local representatives. And I can say no more really than please grant this as it stands today, as per the officer's recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for keeping it short and sweet, Councillor Code. Now open up for questions of officers from Cornwall councillors. Do we have any questions of officers on this one? I can't see hands up, so no questions of officers. I'll open up for debate now. Oh, we got one question. Councillor Eddy.
Thank you, Chairman. Could the officers, I just want a clarification as to what the recommendation is, Chairman. Know that the application has got those three elements withdrawn.
Okay, we did have the addendum sent through with the updated recommendations, so that was sent through yesterday. I'll get the officers just to go through that.
Thank you, Chairman. It's Mark Broomhead. The recommendation is as set out in the addendum.
I've got delegated authority to give to officers so that reserved matters consent can be granted if ICOMOS raise no new significant issues. Is that?
No. There's on the addendum. Have you got the addendum?
Yes, I have. Let me just go back again then. Sorry.
It's delegated powers to approve, subject, because we need some plans to be amended because they've deleted some of the items. So subject to those plans being received, then it's delegated powers to approve the application.
Okay, thank you, because that's not what was put in your slide, was it?
Yeah,
it's on the addendum, a separate document. Hopefully you've all got that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of officers? Okay, Councillor Reddy, if you can put your hand down. I'll now open up for debate. Who wants to lead on this one? Do you have any? Councillor Ball, we've got you're sharing your screen, Councillor Ball.
Thank you, Chairman. I was just going to say that it seems a very clear-cut case, and I'll wait to hear from people on the committee who are more local to the area than me, but I'm minded to support. Thank you.
So, are you moving the recommendation as set out in the addendum?
No, I think that we need to hear from people who are a bit more local to the area.
All right. Okay, if you can use your hands up, please. Any members wishing to start this one? Okay. You can't come in, Councillor Coates. You local member. You can't come in on this one. Councillor Parsons.
Thank you, Chairman. I, like Councillor Bull, would have liked to have heard from members who live closer to Hale, who, of course, I have an understanding of the scheme with regards to the papers I have seen and read through, and from what I can see, I think it's a very worthy scheme. A lot of work has gone into it. I think this will bring many benefits. I think from even recent TV programs we've seen, there will be benefits to the fishing community with infrastructure and facilities being provided. And as far as I have seen to date, I am minded to support this application, but like I said before, Councillor Bull has indicated, I would like to hear views from members further down west, just to ensure that I'm coming to a fair and balanced decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I got the plan officer, Mark Broomhead, wants to come in on this one. I think there are two addendums that have been sent out on this one. So, Mr. Broomhead, if you can come in on this one, please.
Just to make sure there's no confusion, there were two addendums, and the correct addendum updated version is the 1st of the 4th, 2021, which was recently sent to members, which is clear that our recommendation now is for delegated powers to approve the application, subject to the plans being amended to remove the items referred to in our report.
Thank you for that, Mark. Councillor Robinson.
Yep, thank you, Chair. I suppose St Ives East is as close as you're going to get today in terms of a local member, and that's me. I have actually visited the site relatively recently, just to get a better feel for what is happening within it. We've heard the history of this potential development, and we've heard the two local members fully in support of pressing on with the recommendation as put forward, the new recommendations put forward. And actually, I think in many ways it actually fits in with, in part, with what the objectors are looking for as well, to get to the bottom of these other issues, delay work until we actually get a start to some of the other zones within the application, and to get agreement on that and move things forward. But actually, I think exactly as worded by Peter Bainbridge, this application is what we should be taking a vote on now. So I am happy to make that as a proposal.
Thank you. So we've got a proposer for the recommendation as set out in the addendum, which was sent out yesterday, the updated version. Do we have a seconder for that? Chris Batter, did your hand up for seconding? You're on mute, Chris.
Beg your pardon. Yes, I'm happy to second that. I was coming in simply to say that I was in agreement with the previous speakers, as they also said. Obviously, if someone is closer in proximity to the application, it does make it perhaps better that they propose and second it. But if there's I'm somewhat further west than Alter Nunn is with the vice chair, so I'm happy to second it, seeing as Richard has proposed it. Yes, certainly.
Thank you for that. Do you have any other speakers on this one?
Chairman, Councillor Eddy.
Councillor, I can't see your hand up yet.
All right, put it up. There we are.
All right. Councillor Eddy.
So delegate, just for my clarity, Chairman, I apologise for this because I'm not normally on this committee, but delegated authority is given to officers so that reserved matters consent can be granted if ECOMOS raise no new significant issues, and if so, such concerns are satisfactorily addressed. That's what we're voting on today, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's cleared that up.
Chairman, sorry to interrupt. It's Mark. That isn't correct.
Hang on, let's read the
recommendation.
Let's read it out.
The recommendation, as set out in the addendum, obviously there might be a confusion with two addendums, but the last addendum is authority to be delegated to officers to approve the reserved matters consent, subject to receipt of amended plans. Obviously, the amended plans are required to remove some of the 3 items that we've referred to in our presentation that are going to be removed for us to allow negotiations with ECOMOS. Is that clear, Chairman?
That is clear, but that for those who haven't been on the committee, don't normally sit on this here, they probably have been reading all the paperwork on this, and this one did come through late yesterday. So if someone's just come in and hasn't read it correctly, you can understand why there's some confusion. But the
so
I can't even refer to the page number on the addendum because it's not in our sheets. But the addendum is what was sent out yesterday by Sarah.
As Chairman, Sarah Goodall, Democratic Services. For clarity, members, this was the committee update, which was sent out to members yesterday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you open the pack up electronically, the recommendation is on the printed page 5 of the committee update, which is appearing as page 7 when you open the document. But the recommendation is clearly set out there, which states authority to be delegated to officers to approve the reserved matters consent, subject to receipt of amended plans and the following conditions. Is that correct, Mr. Broomhead?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Alan Jewell.
Yeah, it's clear as mud, isn't it? I haven't had a chance to look at that amendment, but anyhow, we are where we are. But I mean, I'm not very happy that that's going to be down to delegated powers for these issues of the project that are being taken out. I think it needs proper scrutiny by the whole committee. This is going to be signed off on by the officers without no debate from us as members or whoever's on the committee in the future. So I'm not minded to support this one bit. I think it should be deferred for the whole lot to come in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think
Chairman.
all local members will be involved in this, I believe. So I'll just bring you in, Mr. Brumhead.
Yeah, I think, with all respect to Councillor Jewell, that isn't what we're recommending. The 3 items that are being taken out will be subject to further applications, which will be follow the due process. So we're not recommending we have delegated powers to deal with the other 3 items. Those items will be subject to further reserved matter applications, which will then be considered in accordance with our processes.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to remind Councillor Code, you can't do any comments on the chat box either. You've got to stay out of this meeting now. Councillor Andrew Long.
Yeah, many thanks, Chairman. I was just going to come in. Mark came in before me. I'm reading the additional information. It's the last line which sets me a bit calmer than I was, where it says this approach will allow the application to be submitted for the remaining zones. I just wanted to make complete clarity, and Mark has, I think, done that those 3 will come back to a Cornwall Council committee for consideration, but they will not be delegated. Is that correct?
Do you want to answer that, Chairman? Sorry.
Yes, if you can answer that, please.
Obviously, they will be submitted, and obviously they will follow the due process in terms of our constitution at the time. So whatever format they come in, they may come in different phases. So there may be 3 different reserved matters, but they will follow the correct process.
Yeah, so can I just get clarity on that, though, that I want to, this has come to committee, so by the process, am I not right in thinking that the 3 that have been removed will also come to committee by right, rather than potentially somebody might decide to do them under delegation? Because that's normal process. If you start a process on that go to committee, then all of the applications for that individual one will go through the same committee process. Am I right in that or not?
Well, we will follow the correct process depending on what types of applications come forward, but we're not debating that at the moment. We need to debate the application that's in front of us, which is remove those 3 items.
With respect, it was only 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon when you changed the goalposts, when the goalposts were changed. So for us as councillors, we need to be, I personally need to be completely confident that the Hilltop Eastern Gateway needs key sections, which you've removed according to your the addendum yesterday afternoon, that when they come back in, they will not come back in as a delegation, in which case they will not come under scrutiny from Cornwall Council, from councillors in the future. It will be a new council committee, that they will actually be dealt with by committee as per the rest of this application has been done. I think that's what Councillor Jewell was hinting at. I might be wrong, I don't want to speak for him, but that is, I think, what we need to be assured of. Those are the 3 more controversial aspects of it, and we just need to be made sure that they're not going to be, some people might consider that it might be brushed under the carpet and approved in a different format, and I'm sure that's not what you're intending to do, but we just want some guarantees of that.
Well, I can assure you the local member, whoever that may be, will have control over that issue in any event.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Chris Batters, you've got your hand up. Have you not taken it down, or do you wish to speak again?
No, I was concerned about some of the points that were brought up by Councillor Long, but he put them far better than I could have, I think. And I think I've got some of the answers there. But I was beginning to wonder if this was the April 1st reference you made earlier on, really, because things were suddenly appearing that weren't there earlier. But I mean, I'm down to second this, and I'm happy to second it, because I think I'm correct in saying, I certainly haven't been misled on this one, I'm sure, that the local representatives, divisional officers, are in favour of this. And I mean, I'm like yourself, Chair, I've sat in on this, as many of us have, Hale Harbour, I think since before Hale Harbour was ever built. So we do know what's going on there, and I feel happy in what I've heard. And I think the points raised by Councillor Long were valid and very detailed, and I think Mark has answered them. So I'm perfectly happy to remain as the seconder. But when Councillor Long came in, I wasn't aware of what he was going to say, and he's covered a lot of the points that I had in my mind. But as I said, put them very much better than I probably would have done. That's it. So I'll remain as seconder. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Robinson, if you wish to come in.
Yeah, thank you. It's just to confirm, I'm a new member today, maybe my first and last strategic committee to be on, since I'm not standing at the coming election. But I have, and because of that, I have read all of the documentation that came, and I understand exactly why the people are confused. And indeed, it took a long time for me to unpick what we got in the initial brief, and then everything that came yesterday. But I was absolutely clear from it, and clear from what Peter had said at the start, is that actually the contentious bits are being taken out and must come back again as another reserved matter application. And therefore, that is why I made reference to the fact that that some of this actually is what the objectors had been asking for, right? They're being removed, they're being looked at, new negotiations coming in to try and make sure they get the best result for everybody concerned. And I think the recommendation is right, and I stick by putting up up for a vote.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll bring in Hayley Jules now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just thought it might be helpful to offer some clarity to members today. The application that you're considering has had items removed in order to allow the committee to make a decision on the remainder of the scheme and remove those contentious elements, which will then come forward as completely separate applications. So in making a decision on what you've got today, you are not delegating any decision for those future applications, as they will come through completely separately. So the items have been removed from this scheme for you to determine the remaining elements which are now in agreement and are not contentious. The future applications will be dealt with completely separately, or not delegating any authority on those applications.
Thank you for that, Hayley. We've got Councillor Raddy and then Councillor Rand.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I hate for you to think I hadn't read the papers. I have read the papers. I understand exactly what is being asked of us today. Those three elements that are still questioned by ICOMOS being removed from the recommendation, and I support that, Chairman. I understand that perfectly. I was simply seeking some clarity basically on what the recommendation said and whether we would be seeing those three elements again. But I am happy to support the element, the recommendation as it goes, Chairman. But I wouldn't want you to go away thinking I hadn't read anything and I hadn't prepared. I have spoken to officers. I've done my homework, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know it's confusing for councillors when you have paperwork come through right at the last minute. And but that's what addendums do sometimes. You've got to get all the information up to date at the time of our meeting. So, Councillor Rand.
Thank you very much, Chair. I agree with the comments that have been made, and I appreciate very much the clarity that Hayley's just given. I think we all wanted that reassurance. There are obviously in these major planning developments, there are contentious items, and being a World Heritage Site, we must get it right. I think they're obviously going to be addressed properly, and they will come back before the committee. All right, maybe not us, but it will come back properly to the committee for consideration. Those items that have been removed. On that basis, I'm happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Rand. And if I might say, I'd like to thank everybody who's been involved in Hale Harbour over the last couple of decades, really, and longer. And things are happening there, and the people of Hale need something like this to happen. And watching the programme on Cornwall is Fishing Life quite recently, that the fishermen there are delighted with what's being proposed to help them out, because it is still a working port, and they'll have more facilities there now with this new scheme than they ever had. So it's going to be beneficial for all the community. So I'll be supporting this as well. So so I think with no other hands up, I shall move to the vote. Sarah, you can do a roll call?
Yep, thank you, Chairman. Sarah Goodall, Democratic Services Officer. Chairman, just to confirm that we have a proposal by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Batters, and that's referring to the revised recommendation on page 5 of the committee update circulated yesterday, which is that authority to be delegated to officers to approve the reserve matters consent, subject to receipt of amended plans and the following conditions which are set out in the addendum. Members, when I call your name, I'll call you in alphabetical order. Could you please state if you are voting for, against or abstaining on the recommendation? Councillor Batters.
For.
Councillor Bull.
For.
Councillor Dyer.
For.
Councillor Evans.
For.
Councillor Eddy.
For.
Councillor Greenslade.
For.
Councillor Hurd.
For.
Councillor Jewell.
For.
Councillor Kasmarek.
For.
Councillor Long.
For.
Councillor Olivier.
For.
Councillor Parsons.
For.
Councillor Rand.
For.
And Councillor Robinson.
For.
Chairman, that has been passed unanimously.
Thank you for that. Item 5 on the agenda, any other business that the chairman considers to be of urgency? I have none. Only thing I must say is I'd like to thank everybody who served on this committee and Cornwall Council for their hard work over the last 4 years and for some decades. Some councillors won't be standing again, so thank you very much for all the service you've given to Cornwall Council and your electorate. And those who are standing again at elections, good luck to you all. And some of our officers may not be here after the next election as well, so thank you very much for all the efforts you've put in.
Thank you, Chairman.